Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So it is a overcast, gloomy morning here in late October in northern Illinois. And today's video, I wanted to discuss traveling with the Model 3. And some of this is Model 3 lifestyle, and some of it is specifics just to the Model 3. Or specifics to Tesla ownership. So my wife and I we had gone out of state. It was a 400-mile trip, so obviously 800 miles round trip. And I've got a slew of free supercharging miles, like 84,000 miles or something like that, accrued in my account from the referral program. Thank you to everybody that used my code. But so we were excited to take my car, and we figured, well, you know what, it'll be essentially free to take the trip, other than it was $40 of tolls round trip, $20 each way. For those of you that have ever traveled east from Illinois, you know that there are a number of very expensive tolls. $4.80 for one toll and like $3.60 for another, and oh my goodness, it was insane. So, but we saved probably $120 in gas using this car, so that was great. But we encountered a couple things on this trip that we've never encountered traveling before with the Tesla. Now, we've traveled out of state numerous times with this car. Normally we go up north to visit my wife's family in Minnesota. They're about an hour and 15 minutes northwest of Minneapolis. And we drive north from our house. We stop in Mauston, Wisconsin, and supercharge. There's a charger in the back lot of a Culver's restaurant. We grab a bite there. Then we continued to Oakdale, Minnesota. Very nice supercharger there at a Hy-Vee department store. And there is a Hardee's, I think it is, across the street from there. Another good charger. And we've done that numerous times. And we've also, I've gone down to southern Illinois, and I've stopped at the supercharger in, I believe it was Springfield, and at the sporting goods store parking lot. It was a very nice charger, and I've just had very good luck. I've had good success charging. Well, that wasn't so much the case on this trip. And now, let me back up and say that even if we had paid for the supercharging, which again we didn't, it would have been far, far, far cheaper to travel with this car than a normal gas car. But the fact that we got it free was a bonus. However, when we plotted our trip, it was kind of interesting because there's a number of superchargers between our place. I live about an hour and 10 minutes northwest of Chicago, and there were a couple of charging stops that the car suggested along the way. The one charging stop that it suggested, there was really no amenities there. And the other charging stop that it suggested was it was too far away from our final destination to really be worthwhile, because we needed to have enough charge while we were there to drive around and still make it back. So, still make it back to that charger, I mean. So it was sort of interesting. So what we had to do is choose different charging stops, and it was fascinating. There's plenty of superchargers along that run, but the way the car plotted the trip, we actually had to do some digging to figure out what would be better charging stops for us. So we stopped at a couple different chargers, and one was the supercharger in Maumee. That was a really good supercharger. I liked that one a lot. It was in the parking lot of a Meijer, and there's a number of restaurants there. There was a steak sandwich restaurant that gave me 10% off. I walked in, they said, "Are you parked over there charging?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "You get 10% off." So that was great. But we stopped there, plugged in at that charger, and I looked, and it was 10 kilowatts, 15 kilowatts. It settled in at about 27 kilowatts, but we were at 11% state of charge. I'm like, you know what, as it gets up over 20% state of charge, the charge rate will increase. Well, it never did. So we were walking around in the Meijer and shopping, and I'm checking it on my app. It was stuck at 27 kilowatts. Good grief. So I walked back over to the car, and I had to move it. So I moved it and plugged it back in, and then I was up at 121 kilowatts to charge. That was a little bit odd. And that actually happened at 2 different chargers along that route. So it was a little bit sketchy. Also, because we stopped at different chargers than Tesla suggested, and again, we did that for a couple specific reasons, it became more cumbersome. The one charger was 8 miles out of our way to get to it, but it was by far the best charger along the route. And had our car plotted us through that charger, it wouldn't have been 8 miles out of the way. We were heading toward one specific charger, and I looked, and it said that there were only 1 of 8 stalls available, and there were no amenities there, so I searched for another charger, and it was 8 miles further away, but we went to that one, and I don't know, it was a little weird. So this is just a quick video, not to bash Tesla at all, so the extreme fanboys don't get mad at me, and the trolls don't say, oh, well, yeah, the cars suck, and we've been telling you that, and this isn't evidence of it. That's not the case at all. What all this boils down to is that EVs are still, I don't want to say they're in their infancy, maybe they're in their toddler stage, just teetering to start to walk at this point, but they're definitely not, the infrastructure and that is not fleshed out the same way it is for gas cars. So traveling with a Tesla can be a little bit interesting. When we go to Minnesota, we stop at the Mauston supercharger and charge behind the Culvers. We get a bite. We would have stopped to get a bite right around there anyway. So it hasn't really cost us any time whatsoever because we would have stopped around that time anyway. In fact, we've stopped at that Culvers with gas cars before I owned the Tesla. That's one of our stops. So that's really convenient. And so that is... that's definitely that route is wonderful. And then we stop at the Oakdale supercharger, which we normally wouldn't stop there if we were in a gas car, but we would be stopping around that time to use the bathroom, stretch our legs, that kind of thing. So when we go to Minnesota, I would say we probably only lose maybe 15 or 20 minutes traveling in this car versus a gas car. But I got to tell you, traveling to that wedding in Ohio, wow, it probably took us an hour and a half longer to get there because of the cumbersome nature of traveling with this car, and the charging and just kind of the way things worked out. A little bit frustrating. That being said, though, first world problems, I get it, and the fact that traveling with this car was, other than the tolls, was free. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining too much, but I do want to let you guys know that if you buy a Tesla and you do a lot of long distance travel, that there are some things that can happen. In fact, shortly before we left, a friend of mine sent me a text and said, hey, can I ask a question on your YouTube channel? And how does that work? And so I started asking him, we were communicating back and forth what was going on. And he said that one of the chargers in Michigan, where they go, he's tried it. He's been there a couple times. It's stuck at 25 kilowatts. And he said the last time, he goes, which that's bad enough. So now you got to sit for a couple hours while the car charges. But he said that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is it's also a popular supercharger. So he said the last time he went there, the cars were stacked up. There was a line 5 cars deep. So it took him a good hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to a charger. Then it took him a couple hours to get the car charged up enough to get to a different supercharger to actually charge at a decent rate. So I've never encountered that, but I did encounter plugging in and going, oh my gosh, 20 some kilowatts, just like my friend said. But then I moved spots and it was charging better. So I just want to let you guys know that there are bugaboos. I think that the extreme Tesla fan club will lead you down a primrose path to think that this car is flawless, it's perfect, it's awesome, there's nothing wrong with it, and Elon Musk is the savior to mankind and all of this. I definitely don't feel that way. I will tell you that this is the finest car I've ever owned, including the high performance BMW convertible that I've got. That's awesome car. This is still a better car. So best car I've ever owned or even driven, and I've driven a lot of Mercedes. I drove a Bentley. Honestly, this is a more solid car than that was. So Teslas are awesome, but it is true that there are some inconveniences. But I go back to, this is first world problems, really. Oh, boo-hoo, that I might have to plug in longer to charge my, high-end electric car. But the fact of the matter is, it's true, if you travel with a gas car, it will be more convenient, though a lot more expensive for that trip. So anyway, just something that I wanted to throw out there for you guys. Again, the bulk of the travel we've done with this car has been really problem-free. You stop at a supercharger, you plug in, and holy cow, I'm charging at 150 kilowatts, and wow, 13 minutes of plugging in, and I'm gonna be good to make it all the way to my next stop, and this is great. That's usually the way it goes. Usually you pull into a charger, there's 8 stalls, there might be 2 cars there. You back in, you plug in. Hopefully you're not plugged right next to somebody to be sharing their charger, but you skip a couple spaces and plug in. Charging etiquette. But you plug in, you go for a walk, you go shopping, maybe you grab a quick bite or something, one of those options. A lot of times I just plug in and walk. I'll walk for 15 minutes, get back to the car, I've gotten exercise, and I go on my way. That's usually the way it works. But there are issues. If you stop at a gas station and let's say, I don't know, they're out of gas. I don't know, that would be rare, but they're out of gas. Or maybe I've stopped at gas stations a couple times. I've had this happen where the gas was coming in very slow. One of the underground fuel filters was getting plugged and the gas was trickling in. So I choose to go to a different gas station. Not a big deal unless you're dumb enough to roll in there on fumes. But generally speaking, there's going to be another gas station a quarter of a mile away. I mean, not a big deal. Chargers, if the supercharger you're at is charging slow, the next one's probably 80 or 90 miles away. So I want to let you guys know that you can research how many cars are at a supercharger and go, well, that supercharger's full, 8 of 8 stalls taken. All right, well, I'm going to go to the next supercharger. I've got enough range to get there. But if you get to a charger and it's charging slowly, as far as I know, you can't research what the current charge rate is for the other cars that are plugged in there to know, is that a good charger or are they having technical problems? So anyway, just something I wanted you guys to bear in mind when you buy a Tesla and travel with it. Anyway, also adjustable screen mounts, they are shipping. There are several in the hands of customers already. And at least one person, two people have posted about it on YouTube so far, so that's good. My wife and I have a bunch of them going out this week, so I'm excited about that. We're currently running about a 4 to 6 week wait time if you place a screen mount order today, although the machinist has been stepping up production to try and catch up quickly so we don't miss orders because of the wait time. So for those of you that are waiting, we're kicking it as hard as we can. So, and I've only had positive reviews thus far, so all is going well with those. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments below. I'm almost at 60,000 miles, 59,757 miles, so I'll be doing a 60,000 mile, I don't want to say update, but ownership experience over 60,000 miles video probably tomorrow. I'll probably turn over 60,000 tomorrow. So keep your eyes open for that video as well. So thanks a lot, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Take it easy now. Bye-bye.